longer than your gun, and keeping the gun swinging. Now the difficult point is you've established such a long lead, the brain says you're going too fast, slow down or stop, and that's exactly what happens. You pull the trigger and you stop, and the bird whisses by untouched. Coming the other way into the wind, you can probably cut it down to 5, 6 duck lengths. Same story. The brain says too far in front, don't pull the trigger. So you stop, pull the trigger, bird flies away untouched.
Right, in this section of the video we're going to cover the rudimentary sort of background to duck calling, and Paul's going to help us out with that. Just how to form notes, what calls to blow and when to blow those calls. So Paul, initially guys go into a shop bamboozled with the numbers of duck calls. What sort of things should they be looking for?
I think the first thing, Zane, they've got to do is actually get the call out of the wrapper and blow in it, because if you buy a pretty one or a nice coloured one, you could really be struggling to master it. So it's probably going to embarrass you in the shop blowing lots of different duck calls, but you're going to have to get one that just, when you blow in it, it sounds good and raspy, and your style of blowing, you can define a note. So what's a good call for me might not be a good call for you. Some people have a lot of breath and like a hard blowing call. Some people need a softer, easy blowing single reed call. Just everyone will have a different requirement, so find the call that you feel comfortable with, and if you feel comfortable with it, it's going to be easier to learn to blow.
You mentioned a single reed call. There's different types of call.
Yeah, there's a single reed call, which generally speaking, I've got one here which is an old alt which has been hanging around my neck for about 20 years, and it's a very easy call to blow. I just use it for quiet and close calls and clucks. Got good control over them. You don't have to put a lot of air through them, and they're actually a good call to learn with.
Yeah.
Or a similar type call. There's lots of single reeds on the market now.
Yeah.
And then you've got the double reed, probably an old Hadels is the most well-known one, but there's plenty of them in the marketplace now, and you tend to put a fair bit more air through. I like them. You can blow them hard. They don't tend to squeal if you overblow them. Good all-round call.
And that squealing is because the reed in a single reed is getting stuck.
Yep, basically getting wet and getting stuck in one place. Yeah. So once you get that call that you're happy with blowing, it's time to get out and start practicing, preferably well away from too many people.
Yeah. You'll drive them away anyway.
Yeah.
Right, so someone selected a call that they like, Paul, probably blowing, as you said, blowing a bit of air through at the shop, found a call that they think they can make ducky type noises with. How should they sort of progress from there, from rudimentary blowing it to teaching themselves to actually blow calls that sound ducky?
I think the first thing they want to do is get outside, outdoors, out in the open places. A lot of people practice at home inside, drive their family crazy, or a good one apparently is to be driving to work and blowing a duck call in the car.
And I know a lot of instructional tapes and books will tell you to say certain words into a call. Is there anything that you find useful or best?
Yeah, I've heard that you say what, hoot, whit, all sorts of words. I think the whole idea of having any of those words you hear, they all have a sharp sounding finish like whit. And I think that's when you're blowing your ear, it means you bring your tongue to the roof of your mouth and define that note, shut it off. The whole idea with blowing a duck call is to get the air coming from your diaphragm, from down in your stomach, and use your diaphragm to control your ear. So if you can sharpen off your note, start your note off with a good rush of air, keep it constant as it goes down, and then finish it sharply. How you go about that, whether it's with a word or contracting your cheeks, using your tongue, or just stopping the airflow, however it works for you, the end result is we want a good defined note.
And that's because when ducks blow, they don't sort of tail off from one note to the other. They stop with defined quack, 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 quack sort of thing, rather than, we hear a lot of guys, and you will have heard it yourself, that sort of blow from their cheeks with with it all just trailing into one. So that's what you really want to avoid, isn't it?
We want each quack's got to be good, defined quack, starting sharp, finishing sharp, and going into the next note.
Okay. All right. Well, can you give us one of those?
Oh, I can try. It's been a year. It's very hard. I even find it hard to blow one single quack. It's probably easier to try and do it in a series. For me, I don't say a word. I more go whir, but get it to finish, get the air to finish off. So would be a quack, but if I can do that a lot easier in a series.
But initially, guys should be trying to work out probably what word works best for them, I guess.
Yep.
So I mean, everyone knows what a duck quack sounds like.
Yep.
So it's trying to form that quack, I guess,
Yep.
and then run a series of those together.
Yep, dead right. Say practice using different muscles in your diaphragm, and you know, different ways of defining that note. I can't say what works for me or work for you or work for anyone else. It's a matter of practicing, and you soon know when that you're getting onto the right track.
Okay, so once people have either in the car initially or wherever else, and then outside, learned to blow a quack, what sort of things should they be looking to do then? Or, you know, what's the most rudimentary call they should progress to from a single quack?
A simple hail. I think one of the biggest mistakes that hunters make is trying to make their call too long, trying to do 7-8 bar calls. I think it's a carryover from a lot of the competition calling in the States, where they talk about the loud hails, and people try and blow their call till they almost die of lack of oxygen. Try to learn a 4-5 bar call for a start, and that'll do most of your calling needs.
So by a hail call, you basically, it's kind of a hello call or a greeting call or just a duck type call.
Yeah, that can be just trying to get a duck's attention that's flying in the distance, giving them a good loud long call, and trying to bring them over.
Okay, so it's attracting the duck's attention.
That's right, getting the noise out there so I can hear. It's probably a long way off. Preciseness is probably not as important because it's so far away. It you just want to get that noise out there.
It sounds like a duck at distance sort of thing.
So you want to do that, and you can blow hard and blow loud, and if you don't get your note dead right, it's not the end of the world.
Sure. Okay, can you give us an example of that?
It'd be a come on over, loud hail, call it what you like. You could, if there's 2 or 3 callers, you could be doing those at the duck's flat tack just to get their attention.
Sure. But the main thing is you're doing that, or especially when there's a number of you, when they're quite a long way from the mine.
For sure. As soon as they show any sign of coming towards you, that's when you
calm down a bit.
Calm down and get some form of order to your calling. Don't overcall them, and get them over. And once they start circling, that's where you can do your shorter, more quieter, precise calls and your clucks and the other things we're going to talk about.
Sure. Okay, so what are those other things we're going to talk about? We've hailed the ducks, they're coming towards us.
Yep, we've made plenty of noise, we've got their attention, they're coming over. If there's any less experienced callers in the Mai, it's probably a good time for those guys just to be...
Make a cup of tea.
Make a cup of tea. They could probably do a few clucks. And maybe a little bit of a feed chatter.
Okay.
But
so what's a cluck then?
A cluck, I use just a single reed or softer, easier blowing call for the cluck. But any call, I can do a cluck on this call. And on this one, it's just a wee bit. So basically, that's just ducks playing around the water. They're clucking and making that sort of noise. It's probably not imperative to our hunting situation to be doing it, but when the ducks are close, by using the cluck or the feed chatter, you're not blowing a hail at them. The temptation is when the ducks are too close, is to give them a call and potentially spook them. So this will just...
So that's really just achieving general background ducky noise, isn't it?
Background ducky noises, and keeps some of the hunters in the party involved in the calling process when possibly too much calling could spook the ducks.
So basically you're saying you've got 20 or whatever number of decoys out there. So those ducks, if they were ducks, those decoys rather, would be making some noise. Generally in a pond situation. So that's what you're trying to simulate, isn't it?
Well, everyone normally uses floating decoys, which are out in the middle of the pond. When the ducks are out, they're moving about, making ripples. They're quacking, clucking, responding, interacting with the other ducks flying around. Especially early in the morning and last thing at night.
So what do you say into your call again to make that sort of cluck noise?
Tick.
Tick.
I just go tick, 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 tick. I use the cluck.